Good afternoon and good evening from New York. Welcome everybody to our side event titled Leveraging Postgraduate Education for Sustainable Development. In this side event, we will be having 5 lightning speeches, which will be delivered by Professor Marwala, the Rector of United Nations University and Under Secretary General of the UN based in Tokyo, Japan, Dr. André Lindner from Technical University of Dresden, where he is the Managing Director of the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering and actually one of the co-initiators and co-organizers of this session. We then have one lightning talk by Professor Salimul Haq, the Director of the International Centre for Climate Change and Development in Dhaka, Bangladesh. I will be giving one of the short interventions. I'm Daniel Carter, head of the program Resource-Nexus for Sustainability Transformations at UNU in Dresden, Germany. And we will then have a last lightning talk by Professor Muhammad Fazli Ilahi, the Vice Chancellor of Ahsanullah University of Science and Technology in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We would then take a group photo before moving into the panel discussion, for which I'm very happy that we have here Professor Shinobu Yamaguchi, the Director of United Nations University Institute for Advanced Studies of Sustainability in Tokyo, Japan. Professor Kaveh Madani, who is not only a colleague at United Nations University Flores Institute in Dresden, Germany, but now also the Director of UNU INWE, the Institute for Water, Environment and Health in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm very happy to welcome my colleague, Saroj Kumar Chapagain, an Associate Program Officer at UNU Flores, Dresden. Once again, we would have on the panel André Lindner from TU Dresden. And last but not least, Mr. Ralf Wollmann from the President Office of the German Environment Agency. I'm very happy to have everyone with us right now, and we would now begin this session. Firstly, we will begin with a lightning speech by our Rector, Professor Marwala.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, partners, colleagues, and friends. I am sorry not to be with you in person at our offices in New York for this excellent side event of UNU Flores and TU Dresden, hosted by UNU CPR in New York today in connection to the SDG Summit. Thank you all for joining the event and UNU. We know there are lots of competing events today and all week happening. All the reason more to thank you for your interest in our UNU side event. The American scientist George Washington Carver once declared, "Education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. With traditional structures and systems in place, and archaic approaches to higher education, this idea has yet to be realized. Yet in the quest for quality and equitable education as a public endeavor and a common good, there is a unique opportunity to drive the implementation of the 2030 SDG agenda. The very intersection between technology, higher education, and sustainable development suggests that the role of universities is evolving. If we have any hope of more equitable systems and structures, we must recognize the transformative potential of technology in shaping the future of education. In pursuit of transformation, the sector is called to foster cross-institutional partnerships, promote innovative practices in higher education, quality evaluation, promote academic publications on sustainability issues, and respond to the increasing demand for green jobs. The United Nations University as a bridge between the United Nations system and the global academic community is advancing this debate at all levels. For instance, UNU is working closely with local communities to mobilize multi-stakeholder efforts on education for sustainable development and translate global sustainability goals into localized action. The UNU implemented mechanism of regional centers for expertise on ESD network is a community-based network with 54% of its recent projects being led by universities. This highlights the value of academia to the UN and the crucial role the universities play in shaping research-informed directions and building the capacity of local communities. Another excellent example is the recent UNU initiative led by our colleagues from UNU Flores on the Knowledge Academy for the Resource-Nexus, KARE. CARE will offer trainings, conference, e-learning courses, and project-related workshops in virtual and in-person formats, while the mission of the Academy is to capitalize on the positioning of UNU Flores at the interface of science, policy, business, and civil society to develop teaching activities to tackle global challenges. In doing so, CARE aims at integrating education and capacity development for practitioners and policymakers. As an innovative knowledge hub, CARE shall be hosted in a pollution-free house built from recycling materials, a house aus Abfall, a house entirely built out of waste, either at our duty station in Dresden or the nearby hub in vice versa. Aside from its position as a center in Saxony for the creative exchange of actors in science, policy, business, and civil society, CARE has the great potential to act as a role model for the future of education and capacity development for a resource-neutral and, even more importantly, a sustainable society. Moreover, the aim of UNU Flores is to integrate education and capacity development for practitioners and policymakers. In addition to graduate, doctorate, and lifelong learning programs, its CARE initiative will offer support at the interface of science, policy, business, and civil society to develop teaching activities to tackle global challenges. Those are just a few valuable steps our institutes have taken. Indeed, higher education can emerge as a tangible and impactful solution to many of the challenges of our time. Importantly, however, as the lasting words of the poet William Butler Yeats remind us, education is not the feeling of a pale bite, but the lightning of a fire. Thank you, and I wish you an excellent event with our colleagues and partners gathered in New York today. Please don't hesitate to engage my colleagues present in the room on any of these points or any questions you may have with regards to CARE. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much to our Rector, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, for the introductory speech to this event. We would now turn to the second lightning talk to be delivered by our colleague, Dr. André Lindner from Technical University of Dresden. André, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel, and also a very warm welcome from Dresden from my side, although I wished I was with you in New York right now, but Lufthansa wouldn't let me leave Dresden this time, but next time I'm sure I can be there. I want to start my brief input here with two quotes you can read now on the screen with one of the most influential educators also on American soil, passed away quite some time ago, but some of his quotes are really, really important, and I always like them as an introduction for topics on education and also for motivation. And when we start and look at the Global Sustainability Report published recently, we see the status of the SDGs, and you are all aware of this, that we're only 12% on track and actually doing worse than the last measurements 2 years ago, and that we are in desperate need of more action here. That's why we are on the Action Weekend. And TU Dresden is also committed to contribute to this. Also in the main strategy, it's written that it attaches high priority to environmental and climate protection, as well as especially ecological sustainability. And of course, this cannot happen alone. We work closely together, as already mentioned by the rector, with the United Nations Institute of United Nations University Institute we have in Dresden with Flores. And if you look at the recent issues of nature, in almost all editorials in the last issues, the topic is sustainability. And here from June, it's really an appeal that we must act now also in terms of science and science education, and that we need to evolve, we need to be more accessible, and we need to be more open. Next one. So when we look at our school here at TU Dresden, the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering, with its a composition, we cover all aspects of sustainability with the biosphere, society, economy, enclosing these faculties of business and economics, traffic and transport science, civil engineering, architecture, and the environmental science. So we basically have the whole package. And you see on the screen our main research focuses as of today, and also that we want to invest into more internationalization and also in more digitalization in doing so. And we already see evidence of its impact. We see developing and established networks, and we see what impact we can have on careers of young people, especially from the Global South, which is the focus of my input today. And one of the examples is a center at TU Dresden, which already exists since 46 years. Then founded in the former GDR, and it's home of the UNIT UNESCO BMUV International Postgraduate Course Program, which educates environmental experts and decision makers from the Global South. Though I'm also very happy that Ralf Wollmann from the German Environment Agency is here. We are in close contact, and we are thankful for the funding and the support for running this program together for better higher education and sustainable development for those future decision makers and potential change agents. And the philosophy we take on this is this holistic approach embedded around a science policy interface, focusing on all these aspects on natural resource management. And people leave not only with a postgraduate diploma in their hands, but also equipped with the tools to further develop their careers, but also have their impact on their very own environment in different ways. And we briefly look at a few examples. Next one. So there are more than 2,700 alumni from 145 countries now. And you see now some results from our alumni survey, where you see that most people really benefit from the impact, from the input they get here in Dresden. Next. This is a good example picture. What we see here, these are 4 people you can see on the screen now at the last COP27 from all different countries, and they were actually participants of the very same course in Dresden. So this is one example of how effective these courses can be on a, let's say, a higher political level on these COP negotiations tables, but also at the grassroots level, SIPSEM has measurable effects. And since quite some time now, we equip like the best participant in our courses with small grassroots funding, so-called transfer to action fellowships, to really bring back their knowledge and to implement with their organizations at home their small projects. And we see that they are very, very cost-benefit effective. Here are some examples, and you're welcome to look at our YouTube channel to see more details on these success stories. Another example, and I will keep this briefly, water is an ongoing topic, obviously. And now we established the ABCD Center here with partners from the Global South and Germany. So ABCD stands for the University in Aachen, Bangkok, Chennai, and Dresden. So we are in South Asia and Germany, and also together with UNU Flores and working on water security issues. So water can be a hazardous element as well as the most desired asset. Pretty much all here are aware of this, and you see the partners of this project. There are 3 clusters here. You can have a look in detail also on our website you see on the ground, and I will now highlight especially the educational aspects of this program on the next slide, where you can see that we have 3 main pillars. The first one would be teaching, including the realization of a new master program where the curriculum is really developed by all partners. So a really South-North cooperation on an intercontinental level. We integrate these topics and existing programs at all universities. Another pillar is PhD research, and especially the exposure to university experience from the partners, so mobility of these young future environmental leaders. And last not least, also transfer is one of the main pillars to also educate our students and PhD students already to bring their knowledge into effect into the world. Coming to close my brief input now, you see here one of the examples of these collaborations. So I mentioned SIPSIM before. This is a transfer workshop of the ABCD Center with SIPSIM course participants to really bring this knowledge together from all perspectives. And another example from such event in March from the UN Water Conference, we produced this white paper as a result of our joint site event under the umbrella of the ABCD Center. So with this, I thank you for your attention. And one last slide where you see a recent picture of one of our SIPSIM alumnas here with Ban Ki-moon, the former UN General Secretary. And with this picture, I want to highlight 2, let's say, statements, and maybe for the discussion later. As you have seen, and I had mentioned briefly before, that the cost-benefit ratios of postgraduate education efforts addressing complex issues within the Resource-Nexus are often very advantageous. So cost-benefit ratio is very good. So let's invest more. And the second part is for discussion from my side that there is, of course, a global responsibility of universities, and this international academic cooperation is important, but there might be a potential unbalance in capacity allocation. So do programs like this with the best intentions maybe result in a brain drain from global South countries once in a while? And how can we counteract to this maybe? So is there a solvable conflict of interest? And with this, thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to the further discussion.
So thank you very much for this very inspiring presentation, Andre, for highlighting the role that sustainability now has, for example, when we look into the recent editorials of high-level journals like Nature, but also the real-world implementation of this into educational programs at TU Dresden in collaboration with United Nations University. We now come to the next lightning speech, which is by Professor Salimul Haq from Bangladesh. And let's start the recording.
Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Salimul Haq, Director of the International Centre for Climate Change and Development, ICCCAD, and Professor at the Independent University Bangladesh, IUB. You're not only one of the most prominent scientists of Bangladesh, but also one of the strongest voices of the Global South on climate mitigation, adaptation, and justice.
Well, there are three factors that make Bangladesh particularly vulnerable. The first one is geography. We are a country located on the delta of two of the biggest rivers in the world, the Ganges and the Brahmaputra. Almost the entire country is the delta of these two big rivers, which start from the Himalayas mountains and then come all the way to the Bay of Bengal through Bangladesh. The second is the population size with respect to the size of the country. We have well over 170 million people living in a country whose total size is less than 150,000 square kilometers. That gives us, the whole country, a population density of well over 1,000, which you only see in city-states like Hong Kong and Singapore, but not in a whole country like Bangladesh. And thirdly, we are a relatively poor country. We are improving our poverty, but we still have a large number of poor people, and the impacts of climate change, whether they be floods or they be heavy rainfalls or they be cyclones or droughts, mostly affect the poorest people in the country. So poor people are almost always the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. So Bangladesh, as I mentioned already, is one of the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. That is not a new fact. That we have known for the last 10 years. And we have not been sitting idle. We have been doing quite a lot of analysis to find out which places are the most vulnerable to different kinds of impacts, floods, droughts, cyclones, which communities, which parts of the community, as I said, poor people in general, much more vulnerable than rich people, women more vulnerable than men, children more vulnerable than adults, elderly more vulnerable than normal people, etc., etc. And so we have done quite a lot of analysis, and we have also developed our own plans to adapt to those impacts of climate change. And Bangladesh is actually one of the world leaders in adaptation to climate change, particularly, I would say, in adapting to the impacts of cyclonic storms, which we get in the coastal zone of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is one of the most effective warning and evacuation and shelter program in the coastal zone of Bangladesh, where we get cyclones regularly. The cyclones are not caused by climate change, but they become more intense because of climate change when the sea surface temperature is higher than normal, when the atmospheric temperature is higher than normal. And so we have got a lot of experience in coping with the impacts, minimizing the loss of human lives from those climate impacts, but nevertheless, they still come and they still do a lot of damage, and we need to cope with them. So our planners and our decision makers are investing quite heavily in enhancing our adaptive capacity and improving our environmental preservation, conservation, not destroying our forests and wetlands, but preserving them and conserving them. This is now a growing area of decision and doing. Unfortunately, in the past, we have actually done quite a lot of development by destroying the environment. We have cut down forests, we have built over wetlands, but we realize that has been the wrong thing to do. We've stopped doing it now, and we are trying to reverse the trend. I feel we need to invest more in people-to-people exchanges. You know, this is just at the government-to-government level at the moment, and the exporter to the importer. These are just companies at the moment. But if we can do beyond the companies to the consumers themselves, and young people in particular, I emphasize young people as a very important cohort of the consuming public in Germany. You know, your students in your university, can we get your students and my students to talk to each other and come up with innovative ways to collaborate and support each other to carry out these new ways of working, and finding ways to give a premium product price to those that are being innovative and being green. That would go a long way. Once you start showing a profitability in doing the right thing, then all the other industries will follow suit, because they also like profit. But we have to show that with some examples. And I think if we put our heads together, I would certainly be interested in exploring with you how university to university we can do some better research, we can involve our students in doing some activities together, and just seeing whether we can improve the understanding of this issue in the general public, in both countries, so that we are better prepared, better understand the issues, and are looking to work together going forward.
So thank you very much to Professor Salimul Haq for being available for us for this interview and for highlighting, on the one hand, the challenges that countries like Bangladesh are confronted with in the context of climate change adaptation and sustainability transformations. It is, on the other hand, also encouraging to hear that countries like Bangladesh are now advancing with regard to sustainability, with regard to climate change adaptation. And it's very encouraging to see that people like Professor Salimul Haq are not only climate scientists and activists, but at the same time also educators in his function as a professor at the Independent University of Bangladesh. With that, I would now come to my very own presentation today, Resource-Nexus for Sustainability Transformations, or NEXTRA, a doctoral program that we have at UNU Flores in Dresden, Germany, and the question of how do we connect doctoral research to the work of the UN system. So firstly, NEXTRA stands for Resource-Nexus for Sustainability Transformations. And with resources, we basically mean topics that relate to environmental resources such as water, soil, energy, or materials. And with a nexus, under a nexus, we understand anything that considers at least two resources and their interlinkages, including synergies and trade-offs that we need to look at when we manage these resources. We then have the word sustainability in the title of the program. And basically this means that with all doctoral research, we aim at contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, including both the planetary goals, but also the social and economic development goals. Finally, we have the word transformations at the end. And this means that we aim at having an impact from the outset. And this, in our case, particularly means a focus on leveraging synergies with the UN system. So basically, NEXTRA is a doctoral research program that aims at having an impact in the UN. It began with a project that was funded by German, and still is funded by German Academic Exchange Service in the context of the development-related postgraduate courses program, for which we have received funding for approximately 60 doctoral students with intakes between the years 2023 and 2030. In this program, we collaborate between UNU Flores with Technical University of Dresden and the Leibniz Institute for Ecological, Urban and Regional Development in Dresden. And in this specific project, we accept candidates from the Global South, from the list of the development assistance countries, people who have at least 2 years of professional postgraduate experience, with the goal to enable doctoral students to become change agents in the future. We had our first intake in this program in April in this year, but NEXTRA now has become the name of the whole doctoral program at UNU Flores, and it is open to funding from many different sources, not only German Academic Exchange Service, but to give very few examples, we have doctoral students funded by BASF and other sponsors in the private sector. We had students funded by Islamic Development Bank or the Catholic Academic Exchange Service. We have students funded by UN agencies like UNIDO, students funded by the Saxon Ministry, in that case of Environment. And we also have funding from research foundations like the German Research Foundation. And I should mention DAD once more, as they are not only the core sponsor of the original Nextra PhD program, but we also receive many other individual and program-based scholarships for our students from this donor. So in the Nextra program, one core goal is to contribute to the work of the UN system. And the picture that you can see here shows me with one of our doctoral students and a meeting with the resident UN resident coordinator in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Basically, the goal in this program is to have an intensive collaboration with the UN system and the member states. Basically, our core partner at the beginning was UNDCO, the Development Coordination Office here in New York. But at this moment, we also collaborate, for example, with UNDP, the UN Environment Program UNEP, the Environmental Management Group of the UN, UNEMG, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, and UNIDO, that was already mentioned before, as a sponsor of a doctoral student. So in the end, our goal is to create a win-win situation. On the one hand, for students, but also for the supervisors of the students to be connected to the UN system. For example, via the resident coordinators and the country teams in member states. At the same time, we would also like to see that there is a benefit for the UN system. And this means that the UN is involved right from the outset in co-shaping research topics, ideally with the goal to have a policy uptake at the end, and maybe also future staff educated in such programs. So it would be our dream to see that in 3, 4, 5 years, some of our graduates would work in different UN entities. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and introduce the next presentation, which is not yet the last one, but the second last one, higher education at Ahsanulla University of Science and Technology, or AUST, Bangladesh. How do we contribute to the SDGs? And now we will begin a presentation by Professor Ilahi, the Vice Chancellor of the university.
On the occasion of sideline events, it is an opportunity to share the vision regarding contribution to the SDGs by Ahsanulla University of Science and Technology, AUST, a leading private university of Bangladesh, having about 7,000 students at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. There is no doubt that the goals as set by the United Nations is universal, and it is very important for all sectors, including the universities, for a sustainable growth for the sake of future generations who are trained at the universities. AUST is striving through different course curriculums, research programs, to enhance the sustainability concepts related to environment, management of water, chemicals, air pollution, work environment, safe and secure working conditions, waste, circular economy, and of course poverty reduction by providing access to education. AUST, together with industry, the professional organizations, as an example, with the GIZ of Germany, Technical University of Dresden, United Nations University Flores, with a strong assistance of Engelbert Strauss, are working for the introduction of sustainable concepts in the textile engineering department. The whole chain of supply of raw materials, manufacturing, transporting, use, disposing is a truly international scenario. For example, considering the ready-made garment products of Bangladesh, which accounts for 85% of the export earnings of the country, employing more than 4.5 million workers, mostly female, the products going around the world, the SDG concepts need to be implemented by the whole world in a coordinated way. For sustainability, considering the challenges of international concern, the steps commensurate with the SDG, the cooperation between the countries is very important. Sustainability seems to be a simple term, but in fact, it involves a complex gamut of factors and activities with which ours is quite involved. As we need sustainable raw materials, processes of manufacturing that are eco-efficient, productive, cleaner, the innovations for getting the advantage of the fourth industrial revolution is vital for the different sectors. Among the different engineering and architecture departments and business school at ours, the most related activities and programs are carried out by the departments of textile engineering, electrical engineering, computer science and engineering, mechanical and production engineering, the School of Business. Ours has qualified faculty members supported by the needed laboratories, workshops with the required equipment, the proper and efficient use of electricity, water, chemicals, need proper eco-friendly technology taught in different courses offered by the departments. For the production processes involving, for example, dyeing, waste handling, leather tanning, pollution prevention to enhance the concept of reduce, reuse, recycle, new course curriculums are developed and implemented as necessary. The number of stakeholders is large who need proper motivation, education, and it must be ensured that the regulatory activities and the systems guide people and industry involving complex local and international contribution and requirements. Innovation should not be limited to product or process development, but needs integrating circular business model, corporate policies, culture management, and knowledge management for the industry, individuals, and regulatory bodies. As ours also offers business programs at postgraduate levels, these open up the possibility of involving them, as is being done by means of the CREATE project on circular economy with the assistance of Danida, Aalborg University, organizations, universities from Denmark, UK, Bangladesh, and BGMEA, the Association of Bangladesh, to meet the global value chain sustainability goal by 2030. A research by Textile Engineering Department to find environment-friendly biodegradable bags to replace the polypropylene bags used to carry food grains by UNHCR, WFP, ICRC has progressed well, which will be very beneficial for global environment. Transition to this concept for sustainability is already on, and the academic institutions have the responsibility to train the trainer and leaders who can train future responsible citizens. Our graduates are trained accordingly to be a part of the new set of faculty members imbued with the new integrated concept of sustainability and innovation at all levels, and to take care of the risk during transition and implementation stages to get rid of the adverse effects due to changes and running the business to take care of environmental management changes. Ours has already programs involving leather industry under a research project named SUS Leather of every department, the electrical department's study of renewable energy and impact of electrical driven vehicles of the society, and would like to see the concepts to be usefully utilized. Ours will continuously review and update plans so that the achievement of the SDGs can be done as much as possible, as early as possible, within the resources as and when available. Thank you.
So thank you very much to Professor Elahi, the Vice Chancellor of Ahsanullah University of Science and Technology in Bangladesh, with whom actually UNU Flores organized just a week ago a symposium on sustainability in the textile industry. I'm happy that we can now move on to the last lightning speech by Mr. Ralf Wollmann, who has already unmuted himself, and it's a great pleasure to see him here as the first time we actually met in Mongolia in the context of a project funded by the Advisory Assistance Program of the Federal Environment Agency of Germany that dealt with air pollution control. Today he will be speaking on a different topic, namely the TESS Transformation for Environment and Sustainability Academy, organized by the Federal Environment Agency. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Karte, for this kind invitation, and also to you, Andre Lindner, for inviting me to this event. I hope you can hear me well and see the presentation in the right mode. Is it everything fine?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Ralf Wollmann and I'm representing the German Environment Agency. It is one of the largest institutions for applied environmental research. And I'm very honored to be part of this side event in the circle of dedicated experts from highly recognized organizations. As mentioned before by Andre, we are the funding body of the postgraduate training program for developing countries, implemented by CIPSEM at TU Dresden. But with our expertise as an environmental agency, we are also an actor in transformative learning and even on global level. That's why I'm here. And I would like to give you a short insight in what we are doing and why we are doing this. Many experts and politicians are talking about transformation required to reach a sustainable future. It is clear in many areas, legitimacy of business as usual is shrinking or already lost. We have to move forward. We have to change policy regimes, institutions, actors have to rethink how to act. Power relations between them have to be changed or are going to change. We need innovations, new technologies. We have to rethink cognitive concepts, heuristics, and also adapt values and norms. This is a very rough overall picture, and it is clear over time this is not only a challenge, but also a process and a longer process. And with this SDG summit and all the discussions we had already, it is clear we are somewhere on the way, but maybe not, didn't achieve the goals yet. Yes, the German Environment Agency on organizational level, to mention as an example, follows these requirements. On the one hand, we started to change and to adapt our way of thinking, how to do research and to collaborate internally and also with external partners. Because we also realized the topics we are working on are broader than we maybe thought or have seen before. And the challenges have to be addressed in a different way now. So just to mention some of the topics: sustainable economies, climate, energy, decarbonization, urban development. It's clear for you and all of us that there are big challenges in front of us, and we are on the way. As a science-based authority, we conduct a lot of research. So this is one of our key pillars in our work. Based on all these findings and data, we are developing policy recommendations and provide policy advice to ministries, to the whole German government, to EU institutions. And we also have, as already mentioned, projects to support institutions in other countries, like Mongolia. In some areas, we also have the experience how to implement the legislation we prepared. So this is one of our tasks as well. And another important pillar is the dialogue with the public. So it's starting by informing the public about the status of the environment, but also to give recommendations and also to receive requirements and questions from the public and to interact with them and the population. As mentioned before, the global dimension of environmental programs is clear, and that's why international cooperation is an inherent part of all work and activities we do. And we provide, as an agency, our experience and knowledge, but on the other hand, it is clear to us we also have to learn, because we are not the ones who know everything and just have to recommend to others what to do to achieve a sustainable future. That's why the TESS Academy, the International Academy Transformation for Environment and Sustainability, was established at our agency. Looking on the development of policy recommendation and preparing decisions, we know that participation in decision-making is a success factor to achieve better solutions, better recommendations, and better regulation, also in the environmental field. And informing others or even asking others for their opinion is something we do regularly. But going further to involve them really in the decision-making processes and to collaborate on eye level is something new for an authority like ours. And so we have still to experience and practice how this can be implemented, done, how stakeholders can be involved on this level of participation and how they can be empowered to do so, which capacities are necessary, which formats are necessary to really work together on eye level to solve our environmental problems. For us as a TESS Academy, as a very small entity working group at the big German environment agency, mutual learning is the key entry point. Because what we do, science, what our agency knows how to do it is to provide results from science research to politicians, to institutions and stakeholders, hoping to achieve societal innovations, better governance towards sustainability. What is lacking or what we are starting to provide are spaces for mutual learning with other experts, stakeholders, other institutions, to reflect jointly on results and to really collaborate for new solutions. This is comes together with offers to develop new personal competencies and also the necessary capacities to act collectively. So this is the new addition, we as a TES Academy provide to the work of our agencies and to our partners. The Academy provides real-world laboratories for transformative learning and collaboration. We work with individuals and organizations and change agents coming from such organizations. We do it on an international level. We invite experts from all over the world. We do it transdisciplinary and cross-sectional. As an important fact, we see transformation necessary on different levels, on the personal level, on the interpersonal level, on organizational level, and also on systemic level. To be always on track with our activities, events, results we provide, we developed some guiding principles who always help us to keep on track. And these principles include that we have to reflect complexity and diverse expertise among stakeholders by inviting different perspectives to our events and processes. We look on personal experiences and also on systemic societal experiences. To come really into the topics, we integrate our bodies, emotions, senses, and not only our intellects. And these guiding principles help us to form groups of actors which are ready and willing to go further in long-term processes regarding specific sustainability topics. Another important aspect for our collaboration efforts is how does specific stakeholder systems work? So we always do an actors analysis at the beginning, looking which sectors are involved, have an influence on the topic, who has power and interest, which power and interest is present in this whole stakeholder system, and where are blind spots, which actors, people, organizations have to be involved additionally. And now I have a very complex picture, but I will not explain it in detail. This picture only shall illustrate how that we try to establish collaborative actions in this very challenging field to use and to develop transformative potential of policy options, initiatives, projects, to go further to achieve a preferred future we have to define in advance, and to have a look on the limits, so that we need the right steps, how to transform a system, a current system, and to avoid to spend too much efforts without sufficient impact regarding our sustainability goals, and also to see where we need more efforts if we really want to achieve an impact towards sustainability goals. We don't only talk together. It's not just about talking to bring people together to discuss and then to go home. Based on what I explained before, we are designing whole transformation processes. This is just an example of a process architecture illustrating that there's an idea behind our collaboration efforts, and we made already some experiences. The academy was founded 1.5 years ago only, and we gathered already experiences on different exemplary topics. One is resilience in the face of multiple crises. We have a process on preventing corruption as precondition for a successful sustainability transformation. We started a process on promoting extended producer responsibility in international law. And in November this year, we are looking more deeper into public authorities with the topic greenhouse gas neutral administrations, empowering professionals from public administrations to become role models of transformation. So it is clear that we have a very broad view on this topic of transformation. We have different topics and different stakeholders we are inviting from all over the world. So, and this is an offer also from our agency to you to keep in contact, to approach us, and to cooperate on these or other topics in future. Thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to discuss with you these questions during this event. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this presentation, Mr. Wollmann, for introducing to us not only the TESS Academy at the German Federal Environment Agency, but also for raising one of the core questions, namely, how can our actions be highly transformative in the end? How can we maximize the impacts of higher education for sustainable development? With this, we have come to the end of the presentation section and would now take a moment for taking a group picture to document this event. And I would now like to ask everybody who has joined us online to turn on their video. Please give us a moment, and Saros, please take a few screenshots when people are online. Good. Let's take a few screenshots now.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you very much. And you may now once again turn off your cameras. We would now move on to the second part of our session, namely a panel discussion, for which I'm very happy that we have 5 experts with us who are either present here in the room or who have joined us online. I would begin with a few questions myself, but if the online audience has any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat now so that we can then also ask these questions to our experts. And I would like to begin with a question to our colleague from UNU IAS, the director of UNU IAS, Professor Yume Yamaguchi. I would like to ask you in a first step to describe specific programs at the postgraduate level that you have to promote regional cooperation among universities with a focus on sustainable development.
Okay, and thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone on the screen and everyone in this room. Our university, UNU Institute for the Advanced Study of Sustainability, located in Tokyo, Japan. So I'd like to share one of our flagship network in Asia and Pacific. As you know, Asian Pacific, we have a lot of similarities, but also the diversity. Okay, so organizing a network among the university is quite challenging, but it is very much necessary to share challenges and opportunities that we face in achieving sustainable development goals. So there is the network called Promotion of Sustainability in Postgraduate Education Research Network called ProsperNet, which was established in 2008. And we have 55 university members in 15 countries in Asia and Pacific. And organizing and implementing those networks, sometimes it can be kind of ghosty network, and the network stays there, but not much activities are going on. But this network is really brilliant because we do have a very important mission to integrate the research result on sustainability back to the curriculum. And we organize the curriculum regionally. So the participating university, the student can participate in those activities. And we have a major priority theme on climate change planet, circular economy, prosperity, and equity and inclusion people. So out of 5 Ps, we are focusing on 3 Ps. So in order to plan and implement the annual activities, we have a very specific 4 flagship programs. First one is a joint research. So we really promote a joint application on the collaborative research, as Dr. Woman mentioned about collaborative learning is important. We really realize those collaborative learning from the joint research, the project. For example, the recent implementation was done by 3 countries, collaboration among the 5 different universities on inter-university disaster management risk and research, comparative research, and course offering. So specifically, we had an Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand, Keio University, Miyagi University of Education in Japan, and Andalas University and University of Gajah Mada in Indonesia. And they created the core joint curriculum for the postgraduate on the disaster risk management and sustainable development. And we did offer the certified courses entitled the introductory course on a multidisciplinary approach for the disaster risk management, resilience, and sustainability. So the student from those universities can take those certified classes. And then, of course, the result of the comparative research was published as a book called Disaster Risk Research, Science, and Innovation for the Sustainability, Asian Case Studies. So these are the example of the joint, but we also have a leadership program for the participating university. The student can take those leadership the program, and every year we decide on a specific theme. And recent ones, 21 participants from 10 different countries participated. So this is really the collaborative learning. The students from different university in the region and learn together. And the recent example was the net zero transition strategies. And at the end of the 2 weeks program, they actually come up with the proposal. And with the data they brought from their own community and locality so that they can share the challenges and come up with a solution. And we also offer the Young Researchers School. So the student, again, from 55 different countries, they can join and stay in an intensive research methodology and literature review, very specific method. They can learn together from the different professors from different universities. So we really promote and implement this collaborative learning among those. And then Lastly, the forum on sustainability in higher education. Every year we decide on a specific topic. For example, in October, we are organizing Sophia University in Japan on their challenge after the post-COVID-19, the challenges that we are facing in redefining the higher education, particularly focusing on the vulnerable population. Let's say the student with disability, from the minority, the population, as well as the unreachable the places. Okay, so those network, it's the huge network, but we really implement 4 different layers of the activities for the faculty member and the student can participate. So it's really the example of the collaborative learning. I hope I explained.
So thank you so much for this very detailed answer, Professor Yamaguchi, and also for highlighting that program which in your first example began in the year 2008. It takes efforts to keep it alive. It's not only necessary to start it up. We heard today from examples of very new initiatives like the TESS Academy, the Nextra doctoral program, but also of long established examples like the SIPSM program at TU Dresden, which began in 1977. And it sometimes really shows how important it is to sustain such initiatives after getting them started properly. I'm also very happy to see that there are connections between these different networks. You mentioned, for example, your collaboration with AIT Bangkok, which is also a partner in our Global Water and Climate Adaptation Center project. We are glad at UNU Flores to at this moment have 2 joint research projects that involve students and researchers at our institutes, but also UNU IAS, so that our institutes are working together. I'm very glad to see that with Kaveh Madani, we have a staff member of UNU Flores who at the same time is the director of UNU Inway. So being interconnected in UNU, I think, is really a very important strength of our transnational university. And my next question would actually go to you, Kaveh. It will be a bit more specific. At UNU Inway, you have the Water Learning Center as one opportunity for people to improve their knowledge related to water. What role do you think can this play for the contributions that higher education can play for sustainability, transformations, and sustainable development?
Very good question. Essentially, something that we can do through online systems right now is filling the gaps and making education more entertaining. The power that we, the digital platforms are giving us is unprecedented. The power that we have to also produce content, entertaining content, is unprecedented. Like, even with tools like ChatGPT and others, like, now you can do a lot of work related to content production and digital media production. My thinking is that we, not only we have to use these the opportunity for injecting new content into education, and this is what we have been hearing today, how we can integrate Resource-Nexus and sustainability components to the current education system. But I think we also can use the opportunities we have today to make education more fun. And I think the sustainability education, because it comes with systems thinking, because it comes with complexity size, because it comes with reviewing real examples around, real world example, is qualified for this matter. We have now the education systems that let people engage in, according to the time and bandwidth they have, from few hours to really committed courses and education programs that tend to take a while. We know that currently also the market of education is very interested, and the new generation is very interested in short courses, short learning programs, and so on. And I think the learning center we have, the learning centers that other UNUs have, so the platform, all these platforms that we have are suitable for providing those contents that fit the needs of different people. One other thing that I think we can now do that we couldn't do before is producing content in different languages. And I think this is also great for the United Nations University and the other colleagues in academia to be able to produce the content in different languages, because language barriers are also serious when it comes to some collaborations with the Global South. And the fact that we can, from subtitles to dubbing and so on, we can produce content in different languages, at least is proving to us that we can engage more people in these courses. Moderated teaching, self-paced study, short and long courses is something that we are doing and we are testing. And we have seen a lot of things. And the other fact is that, are we only talking about students at universities, or also we think about lifelong learning when it comes to sustainability and complexity thinking and Resource-Nexus, thinking about all those professionals and the people who work at different levels and across different sectors, and providing good content, relevant content to them. And then also I want to add that the learning center that we have and the other learning center should also take advantage of the content that is produced by the Global South for sustainability education, because often it happens that some of us in the Global North have a reductionist understanding of the real challenges in the Global South. And again, this is an opportunity for us to promote the content that is being produced by the Global South, and these partnerships and the examples you provide, are proving that it's possible to tap into that essentially wealth of knowledge and valuable resources that are out there and operate across a global network of excellence in sustainability thinking, science, and Resource-Nexus.
Thank you very much, Kavi. And I really like, firstly, the point that you highlighted, that knowledge exchange and learning is not only something happening from Global South to Global North, from Global North to Global South, but also in the opposite direction, that we must be open to learn and listen from the experiences of the Global South that can sometimes be very relevant when tackling sustainability-related challenges. I'm very happy also to see, as I have two of my PhD students joining online, to tell you that when it comes to the Water Learning Center that UNU INWE is organizing, the modular character of this center really helps a lot for the students to see which modules are relevant for them. Two of these students have taken modules of this Water Learning Center, and as you highlighted, in the end, education for sustainability, of course, addresses a very serious challenge that in the end is crucial for us to address, but at the same time, it has to be attractive for people to be a part of that. Now, as we have one more panelist who has not yet had the opportunity to speak, my next question would go to my colleague Saros Jeffagain, who on the one hand is a person representing the Global South, as he was born in Nepal, then worked in multiple places in the Global South, in the Global North. Saros, how do you think can higher education play a role for sustainable development in the Global South, and what role do cooperations between Global North and Global South play in this regard?
Hi, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you very much for the questions. Yeah, we have been already talked about the crucial role of the higher education, which has been well recognized and well acknowledged, like how it can be helpful for transforming the global sustainability transformation, right? So no doubt, Nepal, and from the perspective of the all Global South, we have been taking much more advantage. I mean, taking those benefits or having those knowledge is really being crucial to transfer, right? So I would say, like, for instance, in most of the cases, like from my own experience, as you pointed out, I have been working from the global South and the North. So what I have been realized in my the past research, most of our attempts, like we are more focusing from the economic perspectives, right? So where we are lacking behind with our environmental and social dimension. So I personally feel that's mainly due to like the people like thinking on the in the like conventional or more traditional way in the silo approach. They're more focused on the economic perspective, right? So what I mean is the education really hold like the key in cultivating the holistic perspective. They really bring these sustainability discourses into the discussion. So I really hope and I really think that the higher education has played significant role. And if you look from particularly to Nepal and maybe other global South contexts, I must say, like in the past, we didn't have like the concept, like didn't have like the culture to listen or to prioritize the research-based or the evidence-based policies, because the policies are always being directed from the top to down approach. So in the present, like in the present means when the access to the education is becoming more common, people have like we have a lot of open access courses like the MOOC. So what is happening is the level of understanding on the complexity, like interlinkage between the different SDGs has been more common, like more realizing. So that I can see like the global South or they are taking like from the global North or from another place, they are taking the advantage. And it's really being some perspective how to make our plannings more holistic. So I must say, this has been taken into the discussion and the planning process. So we are really benefiting from this one. So here I would like to add another point, like Professor Kabe had also pointed out, like taking the knowledge from or participating or co-designing the courses from the involvement of the global South, because the problems are different, the challenges are different, and opportunities are different. So we cannot solve with the same, the models what has been successfully used in the global North, but it could be the difference. So I must say the participation, the collaboration, and co-designing is always important, and it's crucial to further bring these sustainability discourses in more like accelerating this sustainability transformation. So
thank you very much, Soros, for sharing these insights from Nepal. There is actually a second question I would very quickly like to ask to you, as I know that you are the managing editor of a new scientific journal. Which role do you think can scientific journals play for disseminating knowledge on sustainable development?
Well, I think it's very well known, like the journal always played the role, like the platform bringing all the advancement in the methodology or in the science to the real stakeholders. So it's a bridging between the knowledge generation to the knowledge implementation, right? So I think there are a lot of journals and there are a lot of, significant roles they have been playing in this domain. So I would say like more related to the sustainability development or the sustainability transformation, that's particularly, as you pointed out, our initiative, like we are trying to develop with Sustainability Nexus Forum, which is more transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary. So I must say there is still some need to have those focused journals who are really bringing those interconnected or transdisciplinary approach into the real world application. So the role of the journal is crucial, no doubt. So there is a need to be more focused journal. That's what we're doing. And also the type of the paper, because most of the journal is more articles, more peer-reviewed kind of thing. So our aims, and I personally believe there is a need to have some the area or some focuses on really the evidence-based, like the science backup, some findings which really bring some changes into the policies. So these kind of the focuses like policy brief or the commentaries on the previously understanding knowledge. So these kind of the things are really needed, and we are doing our best in this regard. So I think other community is also, I mean, our peers, they are also doing a great job in this domain. So we have to do collectively, and this is the area where we can focus.
Thank you very much, Saros, for highlighting how scientific journals, and in this case, the specific example of Sustainability Nexus Forum Journal, can contribute to disseminating findings. Actually, this is not the only journal that we have in United Nations University dealing with sustainability-related topics. Our sister institute, UNU IAS, has also been very successful in launching a journal quite some time ago, namely Sustainability Science. Could you say a few words on that, Professor Yamaguchi?
Sure. Thank you, Saroji-san, for your brilliant intervention. And in fact, our institute also started to publish, as he mentioned, this integrated approach. So we try to connect sustainability and science. So the Journal for the Sustainability Science, about 10 years ago, we collaborated with the University of Tokyo, identifying different areas related to the sustainability. And we have quite a number of the applicants for this the publishing in our journal, and steadily this wide variety of the category has increased, but also the H index has been steadily increased. So that really shows there are lots of attention getting from different parts of the world. And as you mentioned, we do promote the collaboration between the writers represented from global south and global the north, and collaborating together in writing those journals. Okay, so thank you very much for mentioning the journal.
Is the journal open source?
It is open source.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So thank you very much for showing these two examples of more established and recently launched journals, how to promote and how to disseminate the results that researchers produce when it comes to sustainability science. As time is already relatively advanced, let us have a short look at questions which have come in from our audience. Are there any very relevant questions, maybe particularly to Andre Lindner or Mr. Wollmann, who have not yet had the chance to speak here in this discussion?
Hello, I have a question for Mr. Wollmann. You mentioned about part of the TES Academy, a module on corruption. So corruption is a very systemic problem at many, many levels. So I wonder, how do you teach that module, or what's the content of that?
Yeah, I can try to make it short. Thank you for your question. What we realized as an environmental agency is that corruption in many fields is contradictory to the efforts we have to save the environment, to work towards sustainability, and that we don't know enough about this field. There are other authorities and actors also in civil society who know much more than we about this topic. And so we invited different NGOs, we invited authorities like Europol, who are really active working against corruption. And it was a really exciting event to see that actors which didn't know each other before shared their different perspectives and started cooperation without the necessity that we do it, because it was clear to them, if we go together, then we can really change something. Not everything, of course, but yeah. So what is this? This was our approach, and this is already the success. And yeah, so the understanding was, without looking on corruptive practices in many fields, it doesn't really make sense to try to regulate better, because it is a criminal thing. And so we have to look on this. And this is what happens more or less in this process. but it's ongoing. So if you are interested in more details, we can do it bilaterally.
Yes, I have a lot of interest because at least in the US, we are having a lot of issues also with scientific corruption. So we have a lot of cases from the president of Stanford University to famous professors at Ivy League schools. So I'll be in contact with you because that's another issue that has to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much also for this very relevant question, as I think it's not only necessary to look at the goals of higher education for sustainable development, but also look at the many barriers that we still face when it comes to achieving sustainability transformations in real-world practice, where of course corruption is something that plays a very big role in the reality of life in many countries on this planet. Thank you also very much to Mr. Wollmann for, in his presentation before, highlighting that the Federal Environment Agency is actively encouraging and looking forward to expressions of collaboration, because I think this is really also one of the goals of organizing an event like this one, to think about novel ways of how we can expand the existing networks that we already have and collaborate, as we really see the goals are the same. We want to maximize our transformative impact that we can achieve, and one of the ways for doing so is of course also by creating partnerships. You mentioned, for example, Professor Yamaguchi for Sustainability Science Journal. You worked with the leading university in Japan, Tokyo University, for Sustainability Nexus Forum Journal. We actually collaborate with the Federal Environment Agency of Germany to maximize the impact that we can achieve. So in the end, of course, an important question is to have the right partnerships. Now, as we are coming towards the end of this side event, let's just see if there is one question in the chat that could be asked to Andre Lindner.
Yes, we have a question from our director from UNU Flores, Professor Günther. How can we fix the tensions between two objectives of online courses? On the one hand, open access and a modular approach are key for an inclusive and customized education system. But on the other hand, certificates matter for participants as they are prerequisites for employees and for postgraduate education as well. How can we cope with these challenges, Andre?
Okay, thank you for the question, and I will start, but maybe also I will give then the stage again to Ralf Wollmann, because we actually discussed this issue also in regards to the SIPSIM course program. So on the one hand, obviously during the pandemic, but also before, SIPSIM was doing blended learning, making use of online resources for different purposes, to enable access for people who will be coming to Dresden to the courses, to enable to access before the course and after the course, and that works quite well. Then, especially during the pandemic, when switching to complete full-time online courses, we learned several things. The positive thing is that we still managed to translate the concept of a full-time course program also to deliver it online, and to still give out the same value certificate for such course. So we managed also to have a 6-month full-time online course successfully. On the other hand, we also learned that the impact people after the course had, it's quite different because mainly the group dynamics is different. So an online course will never be the same as an on-site course, never. You can imitate a lot. You can encourage also participation and exchange among all the participants, but it will never be the same. And we had quite a discussion also with the steering committee at SIPSIM that shall we include online courses as a main staple of SIPSIM, or is the main objective still this on-site experience to be as effective as possible with the means invested in such course? And it was, not controversial, but there were different opinions, and we will keep the option of online courses in the short format, but we deliberately decided to keep the on-site experiences alive and the center of the SIPSIM course program, because this has a better impact and also a better connection. The network, let's say, is more resilient coming out of those courses. And coming back to the question, so in terms of the certificates, yeah, I'm sure you can offer online courses with this then qualifying the participating people to receive certificates with the same value. That's okay. But in terms of the overall impact such educational tools can have, then the on-site is more effective. But maybe, Ralf, you can also extend a little bit also what UBA wants, or what we together want to achieve from these courses, and also what your opinion on this is. Thank you.
Can I do a follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Andre. Maybe I add a comment from the perspective of our academy and our experience. We mix our collaboration processes also of in-presence event and virtual formats, because it is clear not all people have time and resources to come together always in present, and it's also a question of sustainability and so on. This no doubt. But our experience is collaboration strongly depends on understanding of different perspectives, even if you don't know them before. And this is our goal, to combine perspectives which are not which are coming together maybe first time and not before, and to learn the even personal motivation of actors. These are things you don't get in a virtual format. And so we try to mix in-person meetings, at least the beginning and at the end of a process, and then to experiment with different virtual formats. So it's more or less the same challenge like TIPSAM. And yeah, so this is, yeah, let's try what works better and how to combine different approaches.
So thank you, Mr. Wollmann. We are seeing that you are unfortunately experiencing some internet connectivity issues at the moment, and I see there are still plenty of questions, but unfortunately, as many of us will need to move on to other side events, I would like to propose to officially close this event, allowing people to stay online and in the room if they have the time for a few more minutes to follow up personally, while also allowing others to leave us. I think we had a number of very interesting presentations that showed us from real-world examples in Bangladesh, in Japan, in Canada, in Germany, how higher education can contribute to sustainable development. And it is actually very great to see that even though we are joining today from very different corners of the planet, that it is the very same goal that brings us together, that unites us, and that we should do our best to work together to use this side event as a starting point for intensifying and further developing our collaboration for sustainable development in the future. And at the end, I would like to thank, on the one hand, all the speakers and panelists that we had in this session, the participants for spending time with us, but of course also our colleagues here at UNU CPR for making it possible that at the time of the SDG Action Weekend, we can use all the facilities here, and for having a very, very proactive communication with us that really helped us a lot in preparing this event. And especially to Christina McElwain, thank you so much for the very, very great support that we had in preparing this event. Thank you so much for everyone. The event is now... Oh, I see Andre Lindner having a hand raised. And maybe everyone turn on the cameras once again for having another screenshot, as I see a few additional names with us now. Let's have another group picture now.
But maybe I use the time when people are going online. I just want to have a very small closing remark. Also relying what was briefly written on my first slide, the quote from Carl Sagan, which says, "We live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology." And if you maybe you followed the recent publication in Science Advances that now all 9 of the planetary boundaries has been quantified. And this is the message we also keep to transfer into this policy making, because the science is there, but, and this leads me to the second quote of him, and I will close with this, that our species needs and deserves a citizenry with minds wide awake and a basic understanding of how the world works. And I'm afraid that this is still not the case often on very, very important issues and in important situations. So please, all of you in this virtual and in this room in New York, keep working on this to bring this message out more effectively. And I can promise from TU Dresden, we will continue to bring ourselves into these procedures at the UN and hope to make a small but nevertheless significant impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this final statement, Andre. A last screenshot and then let's close this session. Serena, could you turn on your camera, please? Thank you, everyone. Have a very nice day ahead of you and have a successful SDG Action Weekend and SDG Summit ahead of you. Thank you.